I'm live on Twitter.
Yeah?
I got it set up. And I'm live on YouTube.
Like live right now? Like people are watching?
Well, I have zero viewers. But I thought it wasn't gonna work, but it's working.
It's nice. They're doing this on Friday because I bet Saturday the Wi-Fi is just going to be...
Yeah.
Or the 5G, everything's just going to be for...
Yeah.
Be locked up.
So I guess it's time to let my family know I'm live.
Where's your camera for your live feed?
It's my computer.
Oh, it's just facing you?
Yeah. I don't have fancy equipment yet. This is the fanciest thing I got is this microphone right here.
I have that same blue Yeti.
Yeah. I was like, well, this was the least expensive. It was the least expensive option, but I also like the colors, either that or white. And I'm like, no.
Yeah, I've got two. I've got the sparkly blue one
Yeah.
and I've got a red one.
The teal one is nice to look at.
Do a little mic check here.
Does the mic work? I can't tell. Oh, does it work?
No.
Oh, yeah. I was like, I'm wearing my headphones to hear.
Well, then since you're not going to be able to really monitor what's going on here,
I can do this.
just lean into the mic.
I can do both. The microphone is right here for both of them. I was like, this is...
It's like you're in a news, and you get the whole step and repeat backdrop. It's like you're already at the All-Star here.
Oh my god, no, that's the last thing that I want to think about right now.
Yeah, just make sure you're not too far away from the mic.
I feel like this is a good distance, right? This is good? Maybe not.
It's not going to be great for our recording. If you can lean in just a little bit, you
I'll
can
sit
move
up.
your chair
I'll sit up straight and move my chair in. I don't have the best posture in the world.
Within about like 4 inches or so. Like
I
that would
think
be perfect. Right?
we're good. I can sit like this the whole time.
I'm just going to point that up just a little bit. And you're cold. Anybody watching yet?
There were a few people on the Twitter one. I gotta pull up the YouTube.
I love this shot because you got your logo over your shoulder. It looks
Ah.
like you're on freaking WGN Morning News.
What a good newscast to be on.
Love WGN.
What a good newscast to be on. There's one person watching on YouTube. And what a there's good one newscast to be on. There's one person watching on YouTube. And
what a
good Twitter. The Twitter. Would it be cool if I like played my intro on the mic?
Oh, like just hold it up to the mic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no like video element to it. I can pull that up in a second.
Tell me when you want to start. Since you got people watching, if you just want to go ahead and get it going.
Yeah, I might start in a second. I just gotta do one little tweet and then I'll be ready to go.
I've gone ahead and started the recording just to be safe.
Okay.
So whenever you're ready, just let me know and I'll turn this music down.
Okay.
Are you doing any audience Q&A?
I could. Yeah, I'm down for anything. So I'm gonna play my intro. So whenever you wanna do that. Huh? No. That's for later. Okay, I'm ready to go. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Women's Sports Matter podcast. My name is Gianna Belcastro, and I am your host. First of all, I have an amazing new logo. I just did a relaunch, and it's pretty freaking cool. There's 2 new shows for Women's Sports Matter. The first one is called Don't Touch My Jersey, which is about what it's like to be a Black and person of color in sports. And then the other one is titled More Than 5%, which has 2 co-hosts. So the first one is Carly Jackson, who is a professional goaltender for the Toronto Six, and the other one is Zoe Hicks, who is a former professional softball player that works for the Dodgers. I'm gonna go ahead and play my intro now, and I hope you all enjoy it. It's very new for this season, and after that, we'll get started with the actual show.
The return up for Pardo. Leaves it off. Here's Mayhem. In the box. The shot. Goal. She's got the record.
Hey everyone, my name is Sabria Whitaker and I'm the founder of Grow the Game. Erica Piancastelli here, Tokyo 2021 Olympian.
This is Carly Jackson, professional goaltender for the Buffalo Beauts.
Hey everyone, this is Connor Moore, the social media manager of the Chicago Sky.
For the first time in franchise history, the Chicago Sky are WNBA champions.
You are now listening to
Women's Sports Matter.
Women's Sports Matter.
Hosted by Gianna Belcastro.
Arike Ogunbowale wins the national championship for Notre Dame. That's it.
That's my intro. It's very new for this season. There was someone that I was listening to, their podcast had that kind of intro where it was like people introducing them. There was like prominent, like well-known people in the sports world. It's a women's basketball podcast. And so I was like, oh, what if I ask my former guests to do a little thing for my intro? So I got a lot of my good friends on there. Like I said, Carly, who's the host of More Than 5%, is on the intro. My great friend Connor Moore, who runs the Chicago Sky social accounts, he's awesome. My friend Sabria Whitaker, who runs this amazing group called Grow the Game, which is looking to get more people to going to women's sporting events. She's a phenomenal person. And the last person is Erica Piancastelli, who was the team captain for Team Italy for softball at the Tokyo 2021 Olympics. So it's very cool to have all of them on the intro. I was like, oh my God, what if they say no? But they didn't. And so I'm very thankful that they're on there. But again, my name is Gianna. I am a college junior, which is also weird to say. I spent 2 years at College of DuPage in Glen Ellen. I'm from Bolingbrook, but I went to school in Joliet and Naperville, and I'll be attending the University of Nebraska-Lincoln in the wonderful Lincoln, Nebraska, which I haven't even been to yet. So that's great on me for picking a school that I've never been to before. But I'm excited. My major is going to be advertising and PR with a mix of broadcasting. My current job is the TV producer for the Kane County Cougars, which is a independent baseball team located in Geneva, Illinois. I've been there since I was a high school senior, and then the pandemic hit, and I was like, hey, can I have a job? And my boss goes, sure, you can run our broadcast. And I'm like, I don't know anything about that. So I've been working there for 2 years now. It's great. It's fun. I love baseball, but I like women's sports even more. I got into women's sports when I was in second grade. I went to a Chicago Sky game for camp day. And if you know anything about women's basketball on camp day, it's really freaking loud. And anytime I go on Twitter and I see my basketball friends talking about, the game that they're at, they're like, it is so loud in here. And I'm like, I wonder if it's because there's a bunch of screaming children in the building right now. And I'm correct, because camp day is amazing. I love camp day. That's how I fell in love with the Chicago Sky. I went to my first professional women's soccer game last year, seeing the Chicago Red Stars. Huge Chicago Red Stars fan. I've interviewed a few Red Stars players before. I haven't interviewed any WNBA players yet, but I'm working on that. Women's sports is so fun, because you'll be like, oh, well, that space doesn't look inclusive when it comes to men's sports, and then you look at women's sports and I'll be like, oh, there's a married couple on this team, and like they're out and proud, and it's freaking cool. So I'm wearing actually right now a Vanderquig shirt. So Allie Quigley and Courtney Vandersloot are a married couple, and they play on the Chicago Sky, and that's pretty cool to see. I think growing up and seeing that, there's people like me in the world of sports, especially women's sports, it's really cool to see that. I love seeing teams going to pride parades, even like the men's teams too. It's like something you don't really expect. Or like with Liam Hendricks and the White Sox, he picked the Chicago White Sox, and he was like, in order for me to come to your team, I need you to have a pride night. So to have like an example like that, I guess in this city or nearby, because we're in Rosemont, to have that kind of thing set up here is pretty cool. And so I feel really lucky to live in this state and to see a bunch of great examples surrounding us, and especially in the women's sports world. I think another cool thing that happened recently is Simone Biles and Megan Rapinoe getting the Medal of Honor from President Joe Biden. That is cool. Megan Rapinoe, the first soccer player to get this award, and then, flying back to Mexico for the CONCACAF Women's Championships that are taking place, which, by the way, the U.S. Women's National Team qualified for the World Cup next year because Haiti beat Mexico yesterday. So they're in. They just got to win a few more games to get to the Olympics, and hopefully we can get a fifth star at the World Cup. I'm not thinking about the Olympics yet. It's a little far away, but 2023 is a little bit more closer. As you can see, there's a mic right there, so if anybody wants to say anything, if they want to ask me a question. Also, for the people watching on YouTube, there's a chat box. And on Twitter, there is also, I guess you could reply to the tweet, if you want to do that. So you can reply, or you can send a little chat. I'm always open for questions. I love answering questions. If anybody, you can go ahead and ask one. I am all ears.
So yeah, pretty excited. Like I said, this past year, and I think the last 2 years, women's softball viewership almost doubled men's baseball.
Yes.
I like watching women's softball. It's much more fast-paced, much more energetic, and I love those cheers. And it's always something keeps going, and like you said a minute ago, just about how inclusive it is, and how much y'all come together, and it's more than sometimes that men have to do. It's crazy. Yeah. So when you think about that, again, basketball, women's basketball, still they get $4.1 million followers and viewership all throughout, and then so and also now they're starting to factor in the internet and when people watch it, because there's a lot of places like I'm from Louisiana, don't get a lot of national broadcasts on.
That's very true, and that is. Yeah, so I think the funny thing about the WNBA in particular is that there's so many options that you can watch it on. You can watch it on Prime, you can watch it on ESPN and ESPN2, and then they have stuff on League Pass, which doesn't even work But hey, WNBA, I'm still going to cover the All-Star game, so you can't say anything to me about talking crap about your league, because the league pass is really bad. I have it, and it doesn't work for people, and that's like one of the other things. Like the WNBA app crashes all the time. So it's more of like fixing infrastructure first before like going into all these other things. And then with softball, you're in the right place for softball because AU softball is coming back at the end of the month. I know a few athletes in there. I've interviewed a few of them. I actually used to be a softball hater. This is a great story. I played baseball growing up, and I was like, you know what? I only want to play baseball. I don't want to play softball. It's just like, it's not a boys' sport. I can do what I want. And so I would play baseball, and the guys hated me so much. But it was like, I'm just going to stay here because I don't really care that you don't like me, and I know I'm not good, but I'm going to make your life a living hell because I know it and you know it, and you're being mean to me anyway, so I'm just going to chill. But baseball was fun, and then I took my little cousins to see AU because I had heard about it just through running this account. And so I saw stuff on Twitter. I was like, okay, yeah, fine, I'll go, I guess. I became a softball fan after that, and I was like, this is so cool. I bought a softball. They have this like merch truck, and they had all this merch in there, so I bought myself a sticker pack. I bought myself a softball. I bought my cousins a softball too. And when I heard back from my cousin the next day, it was like, so did they like the game? Because they're like, one of them is going into 8th grade now. I think the other one's going into 5th. I could be wrong about that, but they're my little cousins. I don't know their ages. They're like 4 or something. Who knows? And she was like, they really enjoyed it. They had a really good time. And I was like, really? So that means they're going to want to hang out with me more now? They're going to want to go to all these softball games with me? They love playing softball. They play it right now. It is, AU is such a great environment. All the people involved in AU are phenomenal. I know so many people on the social team. And just like the dudes that run it, John and John, of course, because, you got to have 2 Johns in order to start a sports group. They are really, really cool people, and they have 4 sports together in Athletes Unlimited. So it's softball, it's lacrosse, basketball, and volleyball. So softball is taking place, I believe, July 29th to August 28th, and then lacrosse is going to take place in August, I think. Don't quote me on that, because I tried bugging one of the people on the social team. I was like, hey, so when's this season going to start? And it wasn't released yet. And they're like, oh, you'll know soon enough. I was like, okay, thank you. I guess I won't cover it then. But it's such a great group. And so if you don't have ESPN Plus, get ESPN Plus, because AU has a TV deal with them. So most of their games for AU softball and lacrosse will be on ESPN Plus, but it will also be on ESPN and ESPN2, which I think is really exciting. So to see a brand new sports league from like 2-3 years ago get a TV deal with ESPN in that amount of time, it's like, okay, now do that with the NWSL and the WNBA, and let's get more international women's soccer games on. Like right now, the Euros are taking place, and ESPN has some of those. And ESPN Plus, I think it's an even split. So you can watch all these different women's European soccer games on ESPN and ESPN Plus. But I have a bone to pick with ESPN Plus, or just ESPN in general, I should say. Because their actual women's sports coverage on the main like Sports Center or ESPN channel is really, really bad. And that's why I stopped watching ESPN many years ago, because I was like, I cannot watch this. Oh, LeBron broke his finger? I don't care. You just said that 2 minutes ago. Now I gotta hear about it again. And Tom Brady, please. Let's talk about Candace Parker. Let's talk about Sue Bird, Sylvia Fowles. Let's talk about Trinity Rodman. Like, there's so many great, fantastic female athletes in these leagues here in the U.S., and we don't talk about them. And that's why I started this podcast. At the end of the day, it's like, okay, where's the women's sports coverage? It's not there. So you have to create it. And I was not a fan of that. When I was growing up, I was like the shy kid that didn't want to talk to anybody. But secretly, I wanted to be a broadcaster for the Chicago White Sox. That was like my dream. I looked up to Hawk Harrelson, and Steve Stone, I still do, even Jason Benetti now. And it was just like, that's what I want to do when I grow up. And I was like such a shy kid. I refused to I went to a Catholic grade school. I refused to do any like readings at Mass because I didn't want to. I was in plays though. I mustered up the courage to be in plays, to get very teeny tiny roles. But I did it, and I just started working my way up. I think what really probably paved the way for what I get to do now is, I guess it's a hobby, it's not really a job, is I was in a media class in my high school, senior year of high school, and I was a senior in high school when the pandemic hit. So it was, I want to say February 2020, and we were being told that we have an interview project coming up. I was like, okay, I have to interview somebody? I don't know how to do that. So I was like, oh, I want to interview someone from the Red Stars. And so at the time, she's currently retired now, but there was someone that went to my high school that played for the Red Stars. And so I was like, I want to bring her in and interview her. So then the pandemic hit in March, and we still had to do the project in April. And so I just messaged her. I was like, hey, I have a school project to do. Like, you went to my high school. Can I interview really quick for my assignment? And so the project was only supposed to be like 15 to 30 minutes, and I talked to her for an hour. And I was like, wow, wait, I can do this? It's so cool. And then I got an email from my teacher, and I still have it, because like this is what really started my podcasting career, is, you know, him telling me like the questions are super good, the way that I like was presenting myself and the way that I was talking was really good. And so I was like, wow, I can do this. And so we had a final project where we could pick to do whatever we wanted. And I was like, I'm going to interview someone again, because interviewing is really fun. So I interviewed one of my favorite writers at SB Nation, Matt Ellentuck, who writes phenomenal pieces about the WNBA. He currently works at Gaming Society, and he's hosting a new podcast with Gaming Society. And being able to talk to him was so, so cool, because I wrote a paper my junior year of high school about pay disparity in the WNBA and NBA, and I used a lot of his articles as a source. So to be able to talk to the guy that I used like his articles in my paper for, like, that was just such a surreal moment. And then I was like, yeah, we're gonna do podcasting now. I looked up, you know, how to record a show. I downloaded Anchor. I don't use Anchor anymore. I use Red Circle. But like that was really the start of my career, because it's quote unquote, because I'm still in school. And I think the funniest thing about the show itself is that my first interview for the show, the person that came on my show, my first ever conversation o'clock, because that's what I call my interviews, because I didn't want to just say interview with so-and-so. No, I'm going to put a nice, funny name on it and have a great time. So I called it conversation o'clock, which is like conversation time, get it? And this person reached out to me, and they're like, hey, you know, I really like what you're doing. And I only had like 20 followers, maybe 30 followers on Twitter at the time. And she reached out to me. She's like, hey, I'd really love to come on your show. You want to come on my show? I just started. Like, I don't even know what I'm doing yet. And I'm interviewing someone? Like, this is for real. Like, this is serious. I interviewed the person that reached out to me. Her name's Lindsay Fry. She works for whatever the Arizona hockey team name is in the NHL. I'm still waking up. I don't really know that much about the NHL, but whatever the Arizona team is. And she's also a 2-time silver medalist in the Olympics, and she reached out to me and wanted to be on my show. And I was like, okay, that's a little weird. Why do you want to be on my show? I just started. But it doesn't matter now, because I've interviewed so many different like Olympians and just fantastic people. So I definitely, it's like a full circle moment, honestly, to be sitting here and doing like a live show. I was here last year for Wizard World. Funny story about that. So you can see that there's cameras set up. And that wasn't the case last year. So I plugged in the microphone into my computer to record the audio version of it. And I was like, okay, this is cool. My first ever live show, plug it in, none of the recording saved. So now there's proof that I actually did this. which is like funny to say, like, oh, like I did a live show. Where's the proof? I don't know. I have pictures. I was actually just posing on the stage the whole time. I don't know. I don't do live shows ever. I went to a convention. It was a sports convention in January, and it's called the United Soccer Coaches Convention. And I got to talk to Aaron McLeod, who won gold with Canada in soccer at the Tokyo Olympics. And I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. Like, I'm talking to someone in the NWSL. Like, I look up to so many players in that league, and we just had so many great conversations. And also, again, for the people that showed up or anybody that's in here, there's a microphone. So you can actually, like, talk to me. And I'm okay with taking your questions. So if you want to ask anything, I'm all ears. You can go ahead. I love answering questions about this. It's always, like, a fun time to, like, get to know the people that are watching, and they have any questions, because I honestly like interacting with my audience the most. And it's for some people it's really hard to do, because they're like, oh, I don't really want to do that, and like I just want to do this just because I don't want to have any like interactions with anyone. I just want to do this. No, I like talking to people. That's why I interview people, I guess. I hate when I have to sit by myself, like right now, and do a show, because I'm so much better just going off of topic of conversation and like switching the topic then and there. I'm not good at segues. That's also another thing. I was interviewing this soccer player. Her name is Tatum Milazzo. She is super, super, super underrated. So if you need a soccer team to get behind, the Chicago Red Stars in the NWSL, they play in Bridgeview at SeatGeek Stadium. Tatum is like so underrated. I just had her on my show a few weeks ago, and she's actually she was an undrafted rookie last year. She went from nothing to starting spot in the 11 for them. So that was really, really cool to like watch the growth. And I definitely think she's gonna get a national team call up soon, because it's just like, and if she doesn't, again, underrated. Definitely check out the Red Stars. They're doing surprisingly well. I don't know if any of you know about what happened with the Red Stars last season, but it turns out the coach that had been there for a very, very long time was a really, really bad guy. He was a bad dude, and I won't go into super, super specifics, because I've done so many different episodes on it, and it's like such a local thing too. But he was very abusive. He didn't treat his players right, and the ownership left him just to be there, because like, yeah, you're okay, I guess. And the Red Stars were playing the Washington Spirit in the NWSL final. So after the Red Stars lost the final to the Washington Spirit, I want to say at 12 a.m. Central Time, the Red Stars sent out a press release saying that the coach had resigned to spend more time with his family. That was not right. And the next day, or I believe, I want to say 8 hours later, this Washington Post article came out about him. And I was talking to people at work about it. I work in Naperville sometimes, and at the Park District, and I was talking to these people about it, and someone told me like, oh yeah, my sister had him as a coach and he was really bad. I was like, oh, this is like local. And I think when it comes to attendance for the Red Stars, it's been lacking this year, and I think that's because of it. But at the end of the day, I think what it really, really comes down to is going to support the players themselves and not ownership. So I've been really stingy about like when I go to games, like what do I spend my money on? Do I spend my money on the ticket and the parking? Yes, because you have to go into the game. And do I buy merch? No. Do I buy food? Well, it depends, because you can't bring in like water or anything, so I might buy myself like a water. I will sit and watch the game, and that is it. I try not to give Mr. Arnhem my money, because I still want to be able to support these people, because I look up to them and a bunch of people look up to them, and they shouldn't be left in the dust, like last place in NWSL attendance because of his actions. It's like, I think it's wrong. There was a point in time where I was like protesting Arnhem and like everything that he did, and then I was like, at the end of the day, I'm hurting the players still. I don't want to hurt the players. I want to hurt ownership. So it's more of like focusing what I spend my money on, and I still, at the end of the day, my priority is still supporting the players always, and then focusing how much money do I give Mr. Arnhem? And I think the funny thing is I'm allowed to cuss. I can cuss?
Yeah.
Ha, okay. So my family's not gonna like this. They're currently watching on YouTube right now. So shout out to my family, but I'm gonna cuss. So Mr. Arnhem, I hate this guy. He still follows me. I posted so much shit about him when this stuff came out because I knew that he saw my posts, and he still follows me too. And it's like, I guess are okay with me mistreating you, and you still want to see it. And like, I'll look through his posts sometimes, and I'll like look through his likes. I'm like, this guy is still active, but he's hiding behind this little like lock thing because he has a private Twitter account. Oh, look at you. I wish I could do that, but I am a public figure podcast host, so I can't do that. And so I'll look through his posts sometimes. The other day, he interacted with one of my posts, and I was like, this fucking guy. Like, how dare you disrespect me? I don't like him, end of story. See, this is the part where I'm really bad at segues. Someone ask me a question, please. It can be anybody. Ask me about any freaking topic you want. I'm covering All-Star Weekend this weekend, my first ever press pass ever, so ask me a question, pretty please. Anybody at all. No. Julie, ask me a question. Ask me a question, please. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say.
So you said that you're going to the All-Star game. How are you preparing for that? And
I'm not.
You're not. Okay. So like, are you putting any sort of like, have you prepared any different type of questions for people you're interviewing? No?
When I was telling Chuck earlier about how I got my first ever like official credential for WNBA All-Star Weekend, and I really thought I wasn't gonna get it because like, oh, Women's Sports Matter is not that big. Like, oh yeah, sure, there's 1,000 followers on Twitter and you got like 600 on Instagram, but that's not what matters. It's like listenership and whoever the WNBA's favorites are, and I guess I'm on their favorites list because I'm going, because they're like, okay, you're approved. And I was like, okay, cool. And I cried about it definitely for like 5 minutes. I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. And also I was watching Stranger Things at the same time. So I was watching Stranger Things, I was watching the final episode, and then I get this message, and I'm like, shit, I'm going to the All-Star game. And I just started crying, and I was like, okay, this is fun. But I don't know what I'm gonna do because I've looked up to these players for years. And Allie Quigley's my favorite, hands down. And it's such a surreal moment to be able to like be with like, I've interviewed some journalists, I've had them on my show, James K, Annie Costable. Annie writes for the Sun-Times, James writes for the Tribune, so they're rivals and they joke about it all the time on Twitter. It's hilarious. And just to be able to be in the same setting as like other media members is gonna be so surreal because I had never imagined myself. I would be a liar if I said, oh, I've dreamed of this moment. I didn't, because I didn't think I'd be doing this. That's not what I planned for. And just thinking about the fact that I will be there with like people from ESPN, people from the local news, people that write for all these different Chicago newspapers, people that are flying in from all these different like media groups everywhere, and to be selected to be with them is just like mind-boggling. I don't know why they accepted me. I'm still trying to figure that out. Like, oh, I hope they don't look at what I post on Twitter, because sometimes I'm very good at shit posting. That is one of my favorite things to do. And just to be in the same group, like in the same room with all these people is gonna be like, I'm gonna be wide-eyed the whole time. Be like, I don't know what I'm doing. I've never covered a sporting event live in person before, so this is gonna be different for sure. And I think the thing that I'm most excited about is just being I guess, with my community. The WNBA community is so fun. Same with the NWSL. Women's sports in general, it is really cool to be around like the people that are there. Some people they've been watching since early 2010s. Other people have just become new fans. So it's all these people coming together for the one thing that they love, which is the WNBA, and it gets to be in the city of Chicago. And I'm excited for people that have never been here before to explore a lot of great things that's going on. And I'm super excited for the All-Star game. When I found out that the All-Star game was coming here, I was like, let's fucking go. I'm going to this game, and I'm going to have a good time. I bought tickets. So I'm not covering the game on Sunday because I'm going to go sit with my mom and enjoy it. Because at the end of the day, like, I already bought the tickets and I'm not going to sell them because I want to just enjoy the game. I'm not being paid to go work this event. I'm still a fan at the end of the day. I also cover it. I'm also media. I'm not a journalist. And I just like to point out that people take me a little bit too seriously on the internet sometimes. And they're like, oh, well, you're a journalist. You can't say that. No. This is like, my account is a fan page. I'll change my username sometimes to be like whatever, Stan account. Like, for example, when Northwestern was playing in the Big Ten championship, my Twitter name, I changed it to a Veronica Burton Stan account because I'm a huge Veronica Burton fan. I'm not a Dallas Wings fan, though, so I still root for her just a smidge. But at the end of the day, I'm definitely a diehard Chicago Sky fan. And so it's more of like a fan page than like all seriousness. I'll sit down with these people, sit down on Zoom. They'll like enter the Zoom chat and I'll be like, hey, this is my show. This is a fun time. It's not anything serious. And then we laugh for like 15 minutes before we start recording, or like we'll go off from like sports to like this whole different topic and we'll just be laughing. And it's honestly, at the end of the day, it's super, super unserious. Maybe it could be serious one day, but not this show, because I'm thinking about having a comedy hour. That is a joke. I will never do that. I got a question from someone on the YouTube, my aunt. And it says, who is the one person you'd like to interview at the All-Star game? I don't know. I don't know if I want to interact with people at the All-Star game. To be honest, it's like, there's going to be so many different, like all the best players in the league are going to be there. So I'll just be like wide-eyed the whole time. But I've always wanted to talk to Sue Bird. Sue Bird is so cool. Sue Bird is retiring this year. And she had like such a successful career at UConn, won 5 Olympic gold medals, and honestly, she's more the GOAT than Taurasi, and I will fight people on that. I think Sue Bird is better than Diana Taurasi. I'm pressing like a button, like final answer. And that is my answer to that question. Again, super, super good at segues. Thoughts on Brittany Griner? Thank you, Chuck. Okay, so raise your hand if you've heard of Brittany Griner. Okay, I'm mad at you. This is my friend Julie. We met at my high school, and she plays sports but doesn't watch them. And I'm like, ooh, okay, that's fine. That's fine. That's okay. We'll educate you later. Brittany Griner is being detained in Russia right now. And I had this awful conversation with my mother a few days ago, and she's gonna love this. But my mom was like, why would she bring these vape cartridges with her? Like blah blah blah, like blaming her. And I was like, first of all, I'm also a 21 Pilots fan, so I'm gonna say the phrase, don't believe what's on TV. We don't believe what's on TV. Do we believe everything that Russia says? Take it with a grain of salt. But I guess it's true. She pled guilty. She said she accidentally packed them. She didn't bring like an actual vape thing with her. Again, I'm not a judge or a lawyer or whatever, so I'm not going to go into like the intricacies of the case. I haven't really talked about it on the show yet, so thank you for the question. This is like a great time to be doing that. So the reason that she was there in the first place is because she's a women's professional basketball player that doesn't make enough money in the WNBA. There's so many different there's so many different avenues you can take once the season ends. You can go back to running your small business. You're comfortable with the amount of money you have, which is not usually what happens anyway. And then you can go play overseas. So Brittany Griner decided she was going to go to Russia. And a lot of these great WNBA players go to Russia. So the team that she was on is called UMMC. I don't know the end of it, but it's one of the best European women's teams in the entire continent. So she was there along with like Allie Quigley, Courtney Vandersloot, Emma Miesemann, Brianna Stewart, a bunch of other WNBA players. And they had to leave because, the whole Ukraine was invaded by Russia. And so when Brittany was at the airport, the Russian version of TSA found the vape cartridges there and detained her. So she's been detained there for 140 days. Her trial was started, and it's probably going to end by the end of the month. So we're trying to make a bunch of noise about it as much as we can. It's so sad because it's like, oh, well, we're going to blame her. No. We're going to blame the league for not paying their players enough or not having opportunities to have them make more money because they don't make a lot. And people are like, oh, well, she makes like $150,000 a year. Okay, but how much do the rookies make? Maybe 50 to 70K. I don't know what the league minimum is for rookies. So there's, again, going back to what I said earlier, there's a pay disparity. And so the overall reason at the end of the day why she was there is the league's fault if we had to like blame someone because they don't get paid enough. And so it is just a horrible thing to sit here and watch. It's just, that's all I'm going to say about Brittany Griner. We miss Brittany Griner, one of the best players in the league for sure. And we hope that she comes home very, very soon. And there was we have another question from my friends at Bryant and Me, which is a very unserious podcast that I've been on a few times. And they're like, why Nebraska? Is it for love of corn? No, I hate corn. You drive 10 minutes from my house. I live in the suburbs, and there's corn. Well, the town is called Plainfield. They might as well change it to Cornfield because it's a bunch of farms everywhere. I don't like corn. Well, corn is okay. But like seeing all these cornfields everywhere, I've had enough. So I was like, I'm going to move to a place where there's even more cornfields. Maybe I won't even notice that it's there. Like there are a bunch of trees. No. I was going to go to Mizzou, and Mizzou has this awesome journalism program. And then I was like, I don't want to be a journalist. I want to do something else. Because I'm not a journalist. That's my new hashtag. Like the Chicago Dogs, the Rosemont team, independent baseball team, their tagline is #NoKetchup. My hashtag is hashtag not a journalist because I'm definitely not one, and I don't need that kind of seriousness to be here. So Nebraska, at the end of the day, I picked it just because of School of Communication. You can mix and match so much. So like I said earlier, advertising and PR is one major, and then I'm double majoring with broadcasting because I don't know what I want to do with my life yet. I'm only 20, so it's like, what am I gonna do? So when I get to Nebraska, hopefully that'll be the case. Also, they gave me scholarship money, so that's also kind of nice to have money. And which team are you most excited to watch at Nebraska? So the softball team won the Big Ten championship last season, and I think it might be that one. I'm also applying to be a student manager for the women's basketball team, which made it to the March Madness tournament. They lasted, I believe they got to the second round. So just to see the growth of Nebraska in general in the Big Ten, which now includes 2 California teams for some reason, God only knows. Just to see the growth from, it's not just Northwestern that's good or Illinois that's good, it's Nebraska now. The school that has the moniker of Cornhuskers. Ugh, that's what I hate the most about that. Let's see if I don't have any more questions. Again, the mic is free to use, anybody. Please ask me a question because I'm dying out here. No, I'm kidding. I'm having a great time. So if you want to ask a question, go ahead. I am all ears. You can ask whatever you want. If you ask me what my favorite color is, it's teal, by the way. And you can't ask that one anymore. but I'm going to take a quick sip of water, and if no one has any questions, I'm going to do an ad read. So if you want to ask a question, you can. If not, I guess that's okay. You can just sit and watch me struggle up here just a little bit. So I guess we're going to do an ad read. So I have a sponsor this season, which is weird because I didn't think I would have a sponsor ever. So to be able to have someone that's just like, yo, we want to support your podcast. Cool, thank you so much. Anyway, here's a time where I do the ad read. Are you ready? BetHerd.com wants you to know that while responsible women's sports betting on women's sports can add excitement to being a fan, it is a form of gambling and can become problematic. Research has found that one of the most effective deterrents to people developing a problem is parents talking to their children about the dangers of gambling. ResponsibleGambling.org has a great guide on how to have a conversation with your kids about the risks associated with gambling. Just a few minutes can make a big difference later. Keeping gambling responsibly in mind, let's take a look at this week's calendar of women's sporting events that legal sportsbooks in Canada and the United States should feature action on. The LPGA Tour returns to action on Wednesday, July 13th, with Dallin Great Lakes Bay Invitational from Midland, Michigan. Winners and other futures should be available at sportsbook soon. Women's Euro 2022 offers matches every day this week, highlighted by pairings such as Finland and Germany and Sweden and Switzerland. Lines should be available. My mom just texted me that I need to do my informational voice, and I'm doing it right now. How dare she interrupt me? I should have put my do not disturb on. Anyway, again, not professional show. I would just like to say another time. Lines should be available each morning. The NWSL offers 2 matches on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Check your favorite sportsbook for markets the mornings of the matches. The WNBA returns from the All-Star break Tuesday, also featuring at least one game every day but Monday this week. Again, your favorite sportsbook should have markets the mornings of the games. Remember that previews of all these events and a lot more information on how to bet legally safely on women's sports is available for free at betherd.com. That's BET-HER.com. What a great little informational thing. So yeah, women's sports betting. I wanted to start covering that on here because I was like, there's not a lot of women's sports podcasts that are talking about it. You hear it on all the men's sports shows, like, oh, you can bet on the LA Kings and Chicago Blackhawks. Cool, I don't give a damn. How about betting on women's sports events, which I thought, oh, do those even exist? Guess what they do? I just told you about everything. You can go on FanDuel, DraftKings. That's the only 2 that I'm aware of. So if you know of others, that's awesome because I don't. And I have someone that does this for me. I just read a little script because I was like, hey, can you write me something? Because I have no idea what I'm talking about. I am informed a little bit on sports betting. That's why I have it on my show. But it's just like another way to expand the women's sports community just a smidge. And I still can't bet yet because I'm 20. So maybe I shouldn't be talking about it on my show. But I'm fine, and I'm chilling, and who would I bet on? Oh, there's a microphone, by the way, too. I heard you, though. You're good. Who would I bet on? I feel like I would win a lot of money on Sky games because they've been doing so well, the Chicago Sky. But they're on All-Star break right now, so there was games yesterday. But my money would be on the Chicago Sky because they're really freaking cool. And I guess I'll talk about that too. I am a huge Sky fan. I'm wearing a Sky shirt right now. It says Vanderquakes. I think you missed the part where I was talking about Allie Quigley and Courtney Vandersloot. They're a married couple playing on the Chicago Sky. So the Chicago Sky was created in the early 2010s or maybe late 2000s because I'm a fake fan. I don't remember when the team was created. But they had their struggles, definitely. They were in the finals in 2012, maybe, and they lost to the Phoenix Mercury. And so they've been having like a rough patch. I want to say from 2014 to 2018, it was really bad. And they went through a couple coaches. And then James Wade, I think, got hired in 2018, who's actually the head coach for Team Stewart at the WNBA All-Star Game, so the Chicago Sky staff will be coaching one team, and the Las Vegas Aces staff will be coaching the other team. And they were going through like this rough patch. They weren't making the playoffs, and then they made the playoffs in 2018. And then they lost in like the second round. So they signed Candace Parker last season. And if you don't know Candace Parker went to Naperville Central, which is like, I want to say like an hour 45 away from here, and then went to the University of Tennessee, was coached by the legendary Pat Summitt, and then was drafted first overall by the Los Angeles Sparks in 2008. And so after a while with the Sparks, she decided she would come home to the Chicago Sky, and they signed her last season. Candace Parker got injured in the beginning of the season, and the Chicago Sky were not looking so hot, and everyone's like, oh, they're not going to win this year. Everyone was proved very, very wrong. They went on to win the whole thing, and Candace Parker won her second title, I believe, or maybe her third. I think it might be her second, and it was just like so surreal to see as someone that's been watching the Sky since I was in second grade, to see the growth, to see the people on the people that were on the team when I was in second grade still on the team now. It was just like wild to me, and to see like all their hard work and dedication to the Chicago Sky, and then to win the championship, and then now they're gifted with the All-Star game, so people again coming in from all over to watch the greatest players in the league right now is very fun. So Candace Parker is a legend, so is Ellie Quigley. There's a bunch of finals MVPs on the Chicago Sky. There's Emma Miesemann, who is from Belgium, and she was finals MVP with the Washington Mystics in 2019. And then Candace Parker was finals MVP whenever she won the championship. Cannot remember off the top of my head. And then Kalia Copper was the finals MVP in 2021. So that's a great team of a bunch of finals, most valuable players. What's not to love? And if anybody, again, has questions, the beautiful microphone right there. I'm not going to ask you to do it, Julie, again. I got you the one time. So I really appreciate your support today. Thank you. I'm honestly surprised, because my family's watching the live stream, that they haven't really asked any questions, which is so surprising. I did a live show at the United Soccer Coaches Convention in January, and so I did it on Facebook because my family is old and they only go on Facebook. So I was there with like 9 of my family members just hanging out, and it was honestly very funny to see. They were like texting me stuff and asking me questions, and I was like, okay, here's a random question. Okay, thank you, I'll answer that random question. Okay, now ask me a sports question. No, we're gonna ask you another random question. Like, do you miss your sister? Like, I was in Kansas City, and they're like, do you miss your sister? I was like, she's really annoying. And she doesn't like women's sports. She's a hater, and I don't approve of that. But I like doing live shows. But then it's like, oh, I don't know what to talk about, and like I don't have anyone to like be like, hey, so what do you think about this? Nobody's sitting next to me, so I can't be like, well, Chair, how do you feel about women's sports? See no response because it's an inanimate object. But I think one thing that I'm super, I got a question from my family. Are you going to the Sox game tonight with me and your mom? Country night. I hate country music. It's like the worst genre out there. She said it'll be fun. No, it won't be fun because it's country music. I don't like country music. And one thing I don't understand about Chicago is like the different music festivals they have. Like one of them is a country festival, and it's like, we're in Chicago. Why is there a country festival here? This is not Tennessee. We don't approve. I'm a country hater, and I will stand by that. And I love hating things because it's fun. Like, I hate the Packers. I don't like football. I hate the Packers. I hate the North Carolina Courage because I hate the North Carolina Courage. That's an NWSL team that has beat us multiple times in the championship. Country isn't bad. Expand your horizon. No. You know what? And that's the segue to another topic, why I hate the North Carolina Courage. things that I hate about soccer teams, I think we'll just do this in general, is that, you know, they'll sign these really talented people and then they won't play them, which is like, why would you waste your money on this if you're not going to play this person? And it happens with, like, honestly, at the end of the day, it happens only with, like, black athletes. They'll sign these very talented black athletes and then they won't play them. What's going on, like, with Ebony Salmon, who's an English international, who was playing for Racing Louisville, and the coach didn't use her, and then Houston was like, okay, we'll take her since you're not using her. And so they traded for her, which is good. And then another example of this, which is happening right now, and which is something I haven't really covered on here because it's like, what do I do, is Jordan Balcom, who plays for the North Carolina Courage. I should use quote-unquote plays because she hasn't really played with them yet. And so her position is forward, and so what the coach is doing right now is playing his defenders as forwards, which I guess you could do if we were playing FIFA online, but we're not playing FIFA. This is real-life soccer. So play your attackers, basically. I got another question. What are some topics / interviews we can look forward to on your podcast? I don't know. Just kidding. Sometimes I plan ahead, and I'm getting a soccer player on very soon. We got some softball players, and maybe a WNBA player that's on my shirt. We'll see. So, yeah, I'm going to do my ending spiel real quick, and then we're going to end. So, if you want to follow me on social media, guess what? You can. I'm on 4 different places. Twitter is W Sports Matter, and then everything else, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, which is an app that I should know how to use, but I don't. Everything is Women's Sports Matter. You can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to watch my interviews, you can watch it on YouTube. And please go follow the other shows that are part of the network. So More Than 5% is just More Than 5 spelt out, and then PCT on both Twitter and Instagram, and then Don't Touch My Jersey on Instagram, and then Don't Touch My Jersey, but remove the E's from Jersey for Twitter. And go support your local women's sports team. Thank you so much for listening, and peace out. I'm done. This is the end. There we go. Thank you.